Hey everyone, this is Danielle, also known as Gently Smiling Jaws, and welcome to my Flosstube for November of 2025. The day I am filming is the day before Thanksgiving here in the US. And a couple things. Let's see here, look at my notes. First, as always, down in the description, I'll have links with information on donating eSIMs to folks in Gaza. And for plenty of folks, having an eSIM is the only way they are able to have, communication. So if that's something that you want to do or something you're interested in, please follow those links. There's certainly other things you can do to help folks in Gaza as well. This is just the way that I like to highlight and try and get the word out about. Second, I was gonna wear these, but they're kind of big, and I ultimately decided not to. But they are my my jellied cranberry sauce earrings, because it's that time of year. And so I have to ask you, if you are a consumer of cranberry sauce, are you team jellied cranberry sauce in the can, or are you team made with the whole berries, homemade, do it yourself? I'm if I had to pick, I would say I am team jellied cranberry sauce, just because that is what I grew up with. My mom can't stand the kind with the whole, berries in it. I think for her, maybe it's a texture thing or whatever. I don't know. In recent years, I have experimented with making my own cranberry sauce on occasion. I have had homemade cranberry sauce from other people and have enjoyed it. So I am sort of more towards the middle, but on the, leaning towards the side of the jellied sauce, just because that's what I grew up with. But I would be interested in knowing your thoughts if you are a consumer of cranberry sauce. Next, the tea that I am drinking today. I am drinking what is my last tea bag of this, going to focus here, this Duchess Balmoral. It's a, how do they describe it? A sweet and creamy vanilla flavored black tea from Tetley. And I have gotten this like a couple times over the years for just when I want the ease of drinking something that's in a tea bag, and I enjoyed it. And quite some time ago, I had gone to order more of it and discovered that it has been discontinued. And when I was searching, I found the posts from people that were angry that could not find this. And so I am sure that there are plenty of other, vanilla flavored black teas I could purchase from someplace else. But I was, like those other folks, just slightly irritated that the ease of, something I could get in a grocery store that I found acceptable for when I wanted this type of tea that was no longer available. But that is what I am drinking today. I had thought about grabbing some loose leaf tea, maybe just brewing something grandpa style in a mug where you just put the leaves in and you just add water and you drink around the leaves and just keep adding more water. But I'm feeling kind of lazy this evening, so that's why I turned to the tea bag. And this is a color changing Disneyland mug, so as I drink, you may see the color on this change. I will go more into the Disney thing later on. It's a whole thing. But the reason why I am here is because this is a Flosstube, and to talk about my cross stitching, as well as I have some knitting to share as well. And like in my last video, I have not been cross-stitching that much. So I don't have a whole lot to show, but the main thing I have been working on is a project where, as I mentioned before, since I haven't been stitching a lot, when I do watch Flosstubes, I try and make sure I sit down to watch the Flosstube, and I have to be cross-stitching something while I watch it. That's kind of my way to make sure that I am doing something even when I'm not doing a lot of cross-stitching. And I haven't been watching a lot of Flosstube either, but the one thing I have kept up with is I have kept up with the Sunshine Stitchers channel. So every week when they post their video, I don't always get to it immediately, but I try to, you know, within a day or two, sit down and watch that and cross-stitch something. And I had pulled out, and I had shown it, I believe I showed it in my last video. Yeah, I think in my last video, I showed this, and I have kind of continued working on it, and because I haven't been stitching a lot, this has been in the hoop, so when I have sat down to watch Sunshine Stitchers, this is the piece that I have continued to work on. So I have made about 1,600 stitches worth of progress on Disagree by the Rebel Stitcher. So let me hold this up here. You can see what I have done is I have finished the words, and I have started making progress on the motifs across the top here. So let me try and get this closer. So what the full quote is we can disagree and still love each other unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and right to exist. So when I had first started working on this, I wanted to get the quote finished, and I got that done. And then as I continued to work on it, I've just started going across the top here. And this is an 18 count Ada from Banana Oil Fabrics. The floss I'm using there's two colors of Roxy floss from purchased through Evertotes. One of them I think was a limited edition color. One is called Cheshire, and the other one is called Hussy. I can't remember off the top of my head which was which, but some time ago when I was placing an order them and I was picking up, there was certain floss I was picking up for certain things. Those were two colors that I liked, and I picked up a number of skeins of each one thinking, I'll find something to use those on. And then as I was going to do this project and I was looking through what I had on hand, and I had this fabric, and I was looking through and I was like, that's right, I have that floss from Evertote. So I pulled that out, took a look, and it's, the tone on tones. So I've used the darker for the words, the lighter is in these motifs, but having also some sections of the darker floss to highlight. So I'll bring that up again. So making progress here. Yeah, so this is the main thing I have worked on over the last month as far as cross stitch goes. But that said, even though I haven't worked on a lot of things, I'm happy that I have made progress on this one piece. And also, I think that, well, it's an appropriate quote all the time, but the fact that Thanksgiving, other than Thanksgiving, obviously there's a lot of not so great things associated with this holiday, but I guess I like to think about it as not buying into any of the sort of mythology around this holiday and how it started, looking at it as a time to spend time with family and be thankful for things. That part of the holiday I can get behind. And I also know it can be a difficult time for people, because if you have extended family that you're spending time with and things like if you're having arguments with family, or you have that one family member who does, this or that, or, your family is all, one way and you're over here believing something else, then yeah, it can be difficult. I am, yes, I should consider myself thankful is that though the family that I will be spending time with over the long weekend is, now quite small, at least I get along with everybody and I'm on the same page with people. So I am thankful for that. And I am thankful that I have made progress on this piece. I do have one other cross stitch piece to show. And this was something where I was sort of, I know in my last video I talked about how where I was at with my number of projects. I just wanted to continue on working on things, and I didn't really want to be starting new things. Well, of course, after that, then I started, getting this itch to start something new. But there were sort of two things that I was thinking about. One, which I still want to start one of, and I haven't gotten to yet, was a couple years back, Satsuma Street had released a pattern for chickens, where one moment. So Satsuma Street had released a pattern for chickens where you do the stitching and then you kind of stitch them up so they're sort of like a little pyramid, and you add felt to them and all this and stuff them with stuff. And I think there's now a second pattern that may be like roosters or something. Whatever the second pattern is, I don't have that, but I do have the first one, and I have the supplies on hand. I just haven't gotten around to starting it. So that had been in the back of my mind. But ultimately, I didn't do that. What I grabbed was this little Mill Hill, or I guess Jim Ashore by Mill Hill kit on perforated paper called Frog Egg, with this weird little frog, and there's a front and a back. And this is where I am at. I am just on the front side. I've got a good portion, but not all of the stitching done. Let me put this behind it. So that's where I'm at with the front of this little frog, and obviously more stitching as well as beading to do. But yeah, I wanted something small, I think, in particular, because when I am focused on cross stitching, I'm usually sitting on my couch with my stand, stitching with either a hoop or a Q-snap in the stand, and like watching a video on my tablet. This little guy is something where I've been sitting in front of my desktop and watching things and then still stitching on stuff. So that's why I wanted to work on this little guy. And the story behind this weird little frog is, ages ago I was watching a video from Kansas City Girl in a Colorado World, and she showed this weird little frog, and I thought it was weird yet charming. And so I think shortly after watching that video, however long ago it was, the next time I was placing an order through 123 Stitch for some things, I saw that they had this kit, so I added it to my cart and got it, and then it's just been kind of hanging around ever since, waiting for me to decide to start it. And this month I grabbed the weird little frog and have started stitching the weird little frog. So we'll see. When I first started it, I was sort of gung-ho and going in on this, and then I made some mistakes and had to undo stuff. And yeah, it's it has the kit, so it has everything in there, and then the little printed chart. And what I ended up doing is using my phone, taking a photo of the chart and printing it out bigger on, like 8.5 by 11 paper so that I can sit there and, highlight. And as I go through, I didn't bother to try and put it into Pattern Keeper. I was not, particularly because where I was going to be working on this, like I'm not going through that for this. I'm just going to print it out, use a highlighter to mark off as I go through. And yeah, so I was kind of speeding along at first, hit some road bumps where I made mistakes, and but now I've kind of worked it out. But I've slowed down a bit on working on it. But really, I'd like to push ahead and get the front side of the frog done, which then will maybe motivate me to go on to the back side of it. Which the back side appears to be, it's more of a regular, the egg-like pattern there on the back side. There. So those are the only 2 cross-stitch things that I have worked on this month, which I guess I'm both sort of surprised and not surprised that I have been sort of this unproductive when it comes to cross-stitch, but I guess, I'm still making some progress, so that's better than none. But I have made some more progress in knitting, although that has been in fits and spurts as well, where I sort of like plowed ahead with certain things and then kind of backed off. Let me start with these socks. So I think when let's see, I think the last time that I did a video, I had started in on the set of 4 socks that I was going to do with the Cascade sock yarn. I had picked 4 different colors, a blue, a green, a pink, and a yellow, and I was going to do 4 socks and doing the colors kind of in different areas on each sock so that you could pick any 2 of the 4 socks and use them together to have mismatched but matching socks. So since that video, I finished the first sock. So here is sock number 1 with the blue at the top, green for the body, the pink for the heel, and the yellow for the toe. So it hasn't been washed or blocked yet, but that is sock number 1. So I finished sock number 1 and have moved on to sock number 2. This one has the yellow at the top and the body of the sock is the pink. And then I think what I have planned out for this one is the heel will be green and the toe will be blue. So that's where I've gotten with these. And this pattern is the I'm So Basic sock from Summerlee Design Company, which is the pattern that I first used when I was learning to knit socks. And I had kind of moved forward with these because I wanted something that was just, for the most part, mindless knitting, where I can be sitting there knitting, not having to pay attention to much until I get to the heel, and then I do the heel, and then it's back to the mindless knitting until I get down to where I do the toe. And so this has been good for that. I sort of had slowed down a bit because I had forged ahead quite a bit on these socks, and then I think it was due to the kind of going all in on the knitting where I could really start to feel in my hand from the knitting, and I realized, okay, I need to make myself take more breaks, pause, kind of exercise my hand, and just, make sure that I'm resting it and not just going all in and causing myself pain. And so I had sort of backed off a little, which then led to me kind of not quite getting back to it yet. So those I'm continuing on with. The other thing is, and I know I said in my last video that, so in my last video I showed that I had finished my Rook socks from Tanis Fiber Arts, and that I was very happy with them. But since you were having to pay more attention to the pattern, that was part of the reason I was ready for more mindless knitting, was because although I really liked how these looked, I didn't want to use that much. I wanted something where I could just knit and watch something without worrying too much about things, without having to engage my brain on the pattern front. Well, as soon as I made that video and had started working on those other socks, then I decided, you know, I really like these socks and I wanted more of them. So I did finish another sock. This is, the yarn for this is the Nano Stitch fiber, and I know I have this in here. Let me pop it out. This is from Nano Stitch Lab, and the colorway, it's their Scientific Sock, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and the colorway is Tongass National Forest. This is one of the yarns that I picked up at Flock earlier this year, and so I am happy that I have been forging ahead and making use of the yarn that I bought. So although the Cascade yarn that I used on these socks was not something that I got from Flock, but this yarn was, and this yarn was, so I have another one of these, and then I have just the barest of starts on the second sock. I finished the first, started in on the second, and then felt that I had been neglecting those other socks, and then went back and finished the green sock, and then started in on the pink. So yeah, I have been, again, this has not been washed or blocked yet either, but you know, as I have been knitting more socks, I just feel like I have been, you know, obviously getting better at it. I can certainly see a difference from my very first socks that I did to the ones I've done more recently. And I'm still, you know, I've only used 2 patterns for socks, so I know that there's a lot more things out there with different, you know, patterns and, you know, color work and all sorts of things. I don't know. I'm sure I will try more patterns down the road. I haven't been ready to make things too complicated. I mean, this was complicated enough for me, and I wasn't looking for more complicated things than this at the moment. But I've still been making progress. I still have more yarn to use for socks, but obviously I would like to get further along with these before I move on to anything else as far as socks, because I have enough projects of various types going. I don't want to let my knitting get out of hand. And I do have that that cardigan that I am working on, the Jethro cardigan, where I did all the crochet portion of it, got it joined up, and I have not moved on to the knitting portion of the program. And I think for me, it's been more of a mental thing where I know it's the first time I've done something like that. I'm going to need to be paying attention to figure out what I'm doing, and I haven't been ready to commit to the brain power needed to do this just yet. And I think for me do I want to get it done? Yes. I just haven't felt ready to tackle that, and I know I'm putting it off, and so maybe this next month I will push myself to pick that back up again and do some more, but we will see. Yeah, so those are the projects that I have been working on for this past month. So it's not a whole lot. And part of the other thing that has had me sidetracked is this. So the last time I was at any sort of Disney park was the summer of 2001. There was a family trip down to Florida and the parks there. And at the time, I mean, I guess I was glad to go on a trip, and I had enough, fun and all that, but it wasn't, it was a family trip. It was something that my parents, thought would be a good family trip. And, so I enjoyed it for that, but it wasn't necessarily sort of what I would have chosen. And then I haven't really thought all that much about the Disney, park since. Maybe at one point years back, I thought, oh, maybe that would be something fun to do. And I briefly looked into it and then did not do that again. So, Disney was not on my radar. It's not, there's plenty of Disney movies I haven't watched. I certainly have fond memories of some things from growing up. The overall company, just like so many big companies, I have issues with things that they do. So I was not thinking about Disney at all. And then my mom says to me, I want to go on a trip next year. Like, well, what do you want to do? So she was trying to think what she wanted to do. And out of the blue, she says, I want to go to Disneyland. And my first thought was, why Disneyland? I have no desire to go to Disneyland. But, as I was thinking about it more, I thought, okay, is this at the top of my list of things I would like to do right now? Not really. But this is something that she has, asked to do. I don't know how, I don't, as for anybody, as the people in your life, you get older, look and think, okay, realistically, how many more chances am I going to have to do something like this with them? Are they going to be up to doing this in the future? And I don't know. So I decided that I would put aside any reservations that I had, and I would, agree to do this and try and have a fun experience. So this has now grown to, some other people, wanting to come along on this trip as well. So at some point next year, I will be going to Disneyland. And I don't know, that's just, it just feels a little odd to me, because it is not, if you had asked me a number of months ago, I would not have said I was going to Disneyland, but there we go. So, I have been trying to lean into it and decide, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have fun doing it. I may never do this again, but I will enjoy it. So, I've been starting to watch and rewatch slowly some Disney movies, and trying to maybe catch up on some of the things that I have never seen. Seen things like the first Toy Story movie was released 30 years ago. It made me feel very old. But yeah, so that's sort of been a distraction for me in the midst of this, as I'm trying to figure out how this is all going to work, where to stay, understanding people's limitations while also trying to make sure that everybody is going to have a fun time. So this is still kind of in the planning stages, and we're working this out. So that's why I now have a a Disneyland mug. It's Disneyland because it is much closer to us, and for a number of reasons, I have zero desire to travel to Florida right now. So that's in my future, and because of the time of year we're planning on going, I'm sort of thinking in the back of my head if I should do some kind of project thing to tie into this, but that's another rabbit hole I've partially gone down, trying to figure out if I can do what I have half imagined in my brain, and I don't want to say too much about it because I may not do this at all. So I've had a lot of distractions that have kept me from doing as much cross stitch as I was doing earlier this year. So I think with all that, that's pretty much all I wanted to say in this video. Again, didn't have a whole lot to talk about as far as projects, but we'll see what December brings. I do want to get back to my modern folk embroidery Jill Bakken because I have less than 2,000 stitches to go on it, and I was wanting to finish it up this year, but also with my projects I haven't felt compelled to go pick that back up again, so I don't know. We'll see. I will keep moving forward, work on things as I feel moved to do so, and maybe I will have a finish in the next video. The other thing I need to do, and I won't be able to, if I get myself to pick it back up, I won't have it finished by the next video, but I could be close. I need to pull back out my my temperature chart, and it's been a while since I've worked on it, but because there aren't that many stitches for each day, I could, spend some time and get it mostly done. But obviously I can't I can't foresee the temperatures through the end of the year, so by my next video I could have it close to being done, but would still have a bit to go since I will obviously be filming before the end of the year. So we will see. I'm going to try and get this video edited shortly and put up on, I guess if it goes up on Sunday, it will be the last day of the month. And then it will be December. So at the time that you're watching this, if you're in the US, I hope you have had some lovely time with family, if that is what you choose to do, or maybe you have just had a good long weekend, or done something for yourself to relax. And thank you for watching, and thank you for being here, and I will see you in December. Bye.